This is the game board that you've been watching the digital music ensemble initially play during the intermission. They played in early February. There were four choices. You can think of like the boardwalk and Park Place as a good choice, or in Candyland there are the different flavors of places that you can go on the Candyland board. But at any rate, there are four sort of choices or spaces that they landed on. Every member in the ensemble was given 5 Ulysses Grant silver dollars as their tokens, their money to spend as they play this game. And they moved their way around the board, landing on either music spaces from which they grabbed a Civil War tune. We had 15 different Civil War tunes. I actually wrote no music for this opera. It's a total scam. And then once they picked a Civil War tune randomly, then they ran another random number generator that determined what page out of either Gertrude Stein's book on Ulysses Grant or Grant's memoirs. So all the text for the entire opera is taken from Gertrude Stein's For Americans, which is a lovely book. One of the best reviews I read about Gertrude Stein's For Americans is it's Stein at its steiniest. So, and it truly is. So especially if you know Civil War tunes, the way that kind of collides against the Gertrude Stein text is a little bit strange and hopefully truly amusing. One of the other spaces are letters, and the letters were given to the members of the ensemble. They could do whatever they wanted to. Some of them have General Grant himself recite the letters, some of them sing the letters, and so forth and so on. These are deeply graphic and gory letters by Ulysses Grant about the Civil War. Another spot was what we call Granecdotes, and these are anecdotes about Grant that will be projected up there. These are video pieces, and some of these students are deeply gifted video producers, I would say. And then the other stranger, perhaps, space are the battles. There are 10 Civil War battles. You've already been approached by members of the ensemble to participate in battles. And what we'll do is we'll reenact 10 of the most significant battles of the Civil War. Keep in mind that everything in terms of the music, the text, the ordering of the material is completely determined randomly. If it makes sense to you, then that's great, and you can trust the force. If not, well, rebel. So I hope you really, honestly, have a great time in the next hour. I know we will. Enjoy U.S. Grant Fluxkit opera. Sorry, guys.
Entirely off and broke in the roof of his mouth, and knocked Lieutenant Wallen and one surgeon down the sides. But they were not much hurt. Captain Page is still alive. When it became too dark to see the enemy, we encamped upon the field of battle and expected to conclude the fight the next morning. Morning came, and we found that the enemy had retreated under cover of night. It was a terrible sight to go over the ground the next day and see the amount of life that had been destroyed. The ground was literally strewed with the bodies of dead men and horses. When we advanced about 6 miles, we found that the enemy had taken up a new position in the midst of a dense wood, and as we have since learned, they had received a reinforcement equal to our whole numbers. Grape shot and musket balls were let fly from both sides, making dreadful havoc. The Mexicans fought very hard for an hour and a half, but seeing their means of war fall from their hands, in spite of all their efforts, they finally commenced to retreat, helter-skelter. In this last affray, we had 3 officers killed and some 8 or 10 wounded. How many of our men suffered has not yet been learned. The Mexicans were so certain of success that when we took their camp, we found their dinners on the fire cooking. After the battle, the woods was strewed with the dead. Wagons have been engaged, drawing their bodies to bury. How many wagon loads have already come in, and how many are still left would be hard to guess.
As I call your death, you'll return to your seat. And now in a slow motion, an epic battle, we shall fight! Fighting with the enemy! You're dead for your seat. You're dead for your seat. You're dead for your seat. Congratulations to the North, you've acquired Vicksburg.
And for trains of cars, what is its supplies for these I need during these days from the grave. General needs clothes and clothing goes. This is the finally Ulysses should read it all. It is tired Ulysses, friend to you not see. That Ulysses is grand. No way, he never waited to be in love with you. You see now there is no waiting in a working. For now do you see, this is not Ulysses. Simpson Grand it is not, Simpson Grand at all. It is hard Ulysses, friend do you not see. That Ulysses Simpson Grand, and no way. The garrison of Vicksburg marched out of their works and formed a line in front, stacked arms Logan's division, which had approached nearest the rebel works, was first to march in, and the flag of one of the regiments of his division was soon floating over the courthouse. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Our soldiers were no sooner inside, the lines of the two armies began to fraternize. Our men had had full rations from the time the siege commenced to the close. The enemy had been suffering, particularly towards the last. I myself saw our men taking bread from their haversacks and giving it to the enemy they had so recently been engaged in starving out.
If elected to the office of the President of the United States, it will be my endeavor to administer all the laws of good faith with economy, with the view of giving peace, quiet, and protection everywhere. In times like the present, it is impossible, or at least eminently improper, to lay down a policy to be adhered to right or wrong. Through an administration of 4 years, new political issues not foreseeable are constantly arising. Views of the public on all fronts are constantly changing, and a purely administrative officer should always be left free to execute the will of the people. I always have respected that will and always shall. Peace and universal prosperity, its sequence with economy and administration, to lighten the burden of taxation, while it constantly reduces the national debt. Let us have peace.
Springfield, May 2nd, 1861. Dear Father, your letter of the 24th was received the same evening one I had written to Mary was mailed. I would have answered earlier, but for the fact I had just written. I am not a volunteer, and indeed could not be, now that I did not go into the first company raised in Galena. The call of the President was so promptly responded to that only those companies that had organized at once and telegraphed their application to come in were received. All other applications were filed, and there are enough of them to furnish Illinois quota if the army should be raised to 300,000 men. I am serving on the governor's staff at present at his request, but suppose I shall not be here long. I should have offered myself for the colonelcy of one of the regiments, but I find all those places are wanted by politicians who are up to log rolling, and I do not care to be under such persons. The war feeling is not abating here much. Although hostilities appear remote than they did a few days ago, 3 of the 6 regiments mustered in from this state are now at Cairo, and probably will be reinforced with 2 others within a few days. Galena has several more companies organized, but only one of them will be able to come in under a new call for 10 regiments. Chicago has raised companies enough nearly to fill all the first call. The northern feeling is so fully aroused that they will stop at no expense of money and men to ensure the success of their cause. I presume the feeling is just as strong on the other side, but they are infinitely in the minority in resources. I have not heard from Galena since coming down here, but presume all is moving along smoothly. My advice was not to urge collections from such men as we knew to be good, and to make no efforts to sell in the present distracted state of our currency. The money will not buy Eastern exchange and is liable to become worse. I think that 30 days from this we shall have specie and the bills of good foreign banks to do business on, and then will be the time to collect. If Mary writes to me any time next week, she may direct to here. Ulysses.
Is the most beautiful place I saw. From what I saw, I'd make Jalapa my home for life. Only if my dearest Julia were there.
The 5th Infantry, Fred's regiment, was not present at the fight of Sierra Gorda. A few days before we left Veracruz, the 5th Infantry was ordered down to the coast of Alvarado to procure horses and mules for the use of the army. And when we left, they had not returned.
How very long since we were together, my dearest Julia.
And still our march is onward. In a few days, no doubt, we will start for Puebla, and then we will be within 80 and 100 miles of the city of Mexico. There the march must end. Among the wounded on our side was Lieutenant Dana, very dangerously. In the rifle regiment, one officer, Lieutenant Ewell, was killed. Mr. Murray lost his hand, Mason and Davis a leg each. A great many volunteer officers were killed and wounded. 3 years now, I think it is high time that I should have a leave of absence.
Do you think I could endure another year apart, loving you as I do now, and believing my love returned?
My dearest, don't you think a soldier's life a hard one?
After a storm, there must be a calm.
Your dearest, Ulysses. Grant has a plan!
Rise, men.
Troops,
Soldiers.
please line up.
Soldiers. Men.
Hold your ranks.
To the line. Forward in ranks. Soldiers.
Attack!
Dead, please return to your seat. You're dead, please seat. You're dead, please return to your seat. You're dead, return to your seat. Dead, return to your seat.
No
Dead.
wins! Congratulations. Gentlemen, we are not done yet. The Confederate has our men behind their
Soldiers,
line.
return.
We must get our men.
Dear
Rise,
Father,
men.
I received your 2 letters announcing the death of Clara.
Yes,
Although I
gather
knew
our
for
troops
some
one
time
more
that she was
time.
in decline, yet I was not expecting to bear her death at this time.
Form a line.
I have had no heart to write earlier.
Form a line.
Your
On
last
their
letter
mark.
made me
We
feel
must
very
break through in
bad.
order to provide
I will
provision
not
for
speak
our
the
men.
reason if I may be wrong in my judgment of the
Let's
following.
get!
We are now having fine weather, and I think I will be able to handle matters without urgency. I am anxious to have Lee hold on where he is in a short time longer, so that I can get him in a position where he must lose a great portion of his army. The rebellion has lost its vitality, and if I am not much mistaken, there will be no rebel army of any great dimensions in a few weeks hence. Any great catastrophe to any one of our armies would of course revive the enemy for a short time, but I expect no such thing to happen. I am in excellent health, but would enjoy a little respite from duty wonderfully. I hope it will come soon. My kindest regards to all at home. I shall expect to make you a visit the coming summer. Yours truly, Ulysses.
In American religion, I remember this
Union soldiers, the date is May 18th, 1863. General Grant has ordered the immediate assault on the Confederate fortress of the city of Vicksburg. Prepare yourselves. We will overwhelm them before they can mobilize their defenses.
Rise, men. Union soldiers, we must break into that fort. Soldiers. Rise. Soldiers. We must form a fortress. Fortress.
On my march.
Form.
Attack!
You're dead. Return to your seat. Dead. Return to your seat. Dead.
The men, fall back! We've failed to take the fortress!
We've defeated those Union forces! Here lay Union.
September 27, 1883. My dear Clara, on my return from the trip over the North Pacific Railroad to the Pacific Coast last Friday, I found your excellent and welcome letter with enclosures. My trip over the northern route to the Pacific about completes my personal observation of every part of our country. I was not prepared to see so rich a country, or one so rapidly developing. Across the continent, where but a few years ago the Indian held undisputed sway, there is now a continuous settlement, and every 10 or 15 miles, a town or city, each with spires of the schoolhouse and the church. The soil for almost the entire distance is as fertile as that of Illinois. I think neither your aunt nor I will ever visit Europe again. We may, however, change our minds. Love to your father and mother, yours truly, U.S. Grant.
Men, join me.
Confederate soldiers!
The Confederate soldiers sleep on their banks in the middle of the night. I want you to go on the gunboat, wait with them, run them out of town, blow the bridge up so they cannot go forward and they must retreat. This is sole mission for the two of you. Is that okay? Yes, sir.
religion is that if this they had, that not for him or from him.
St. Louis, October 24th, 1859. Dear brother, I have been postponing writing to you, hoping to make a return for your horse, but as yet I have received nothing for him. About 2 weeks ago, a man spoke to me for him and said that he would try him the next day, and if he suited, give me $100 for him. I have not seen man since, but 1 week ago, last Saturday, he went to the stable and got the horse, saddle, and bridle, since which I have seen neither man nor horse. From this, I presume he must like him. The man, I understand, lives in Florissant, about 12 miles from the city. My family are all well and living in our own house. It is much more pleasant than where we lived when you were here, and contains practically about as much room. I am still unemployed, but expect to have a place in the custom house from the 1st of next month. My name has been forwarded for the appointment of superintendent, which, if I do not get, will not probably be filled at all. In that case, there is a vacant desk which I may get that pays $1,200 per annum. The other will be worth from $1,500 to $1,800 and will occupy but little time. Remember me to all at home. There is a gentleman here who has lands in San Antonio, the Bexar County, Texas, that would like to get you, should you go there this winter, to look after them. If you go and will attend to his business, drop me a line and he will furnish me all the papers and instructions to forward to you. Yours, U.S. Grant. P.S. The man that has your horse is the owner of a row of 6 3-story brick houses in this city, and the probabilities are that he intends to give me an order of his agent for the money on the 1st of the month when the rents are paid. At all events, I imagine the horse is perfectly safe.
To bear
History will tell how he won great battles and how the most occult problems of statecraft were dealt with in his masterly way. But it would be better if the world knew more of the sweetness and purity of his private life. I had the high honor of his friendship and saw him in his familiar hour when the mask which all public men must wear in public was laid aside with the reserve which accompanies it. I was his companion in his walks and rides, and saw and heard him talk in his quiet, reposeful manner on all gentle themes. He loved to ride through the woods and note the different trees, and he knew them.
To General Lee, it is reported to me that there are wounded men, probably of both armies, now lying exposed and suffering between the lines occupied respectively by the two armies. Humanity would dictate that some provision should be made to provide against such hardships. I would propose, therefore, that hereafter, when no battle is raging, either party be authorized to send to any point between the pickets or skirmish lines unarmed men bearing litters to pick up their dead or wounded, without being fired upon by the other party. Any other method equally fair to both parties you may propose for meeting the end desired will be accepted by me, U.S. Grant, Lieutenant General. Galena, April 21st, 1861. Dear Father,
We are now in the midst of trying times, when everyone must be for or against his country, and show his colors too by every act, having been educated for such an emergency, at the expense of the government. I feel that it has a
can't do this. I'm just too stupid. I'm like Ulysses S. Grant.
What did you say?
I just can't figure this stuff out. My mom always said I had a brain like Ulysses S. Grant.
So you think Ulysses S. Grant was pretty stupid, huh?
What is that?
In this cooler is the head of Ulysses S. Grant.
Do you want a story? Do you want to know everything about what he did not do? Yes! What is religion? Religion is that if there's this, then there's that. Not from him, but from him. Hiram Ulysses Grant had this kind of American religion. Not with him. He had the kind of religion with him. Not Hiram Ulysses Grant. Story, do you want to know everything about what it'll do? Yes. What is religion? Religion is that if they said this, then they had that. Not for him, not from him, but for him. Hiram Ulysses granted that kind of American religion. Not with him. There ain't no kind of religion with him. Not Hiram Ulysses Grant.
Oh, I'm a good old rebel, now that's just what I am. For this Yankee nation, I do not give a damn. I'm gonna bet again, I only wish we'd won. And I don't want no pardon for anything I done. Oh, I hate the Declaration, I hate everything they do. I hate the Declaration of Independence too. I hate the glorious Union, tis dripping with our blood. I hate the tribe and fight. Oh, I rode with Robert E. Lee for 3 years thereabout. Got wounded in 4 places and starved in porn lookout. I've got the rheumatism, camping in the snow. I killed a 10 fucking Yankees, and I killed some fucking Mo. Oh, 300,000 Yankees, a stiff in southern dust. We got 300,000 before they conquered us. And they died of southern fever, of southern steel and shot. But I hope we got 3 million instead of what we got.
Dear sister, your letter was received in due time and I should have answered it immediately, but that I had mailed a letter from Julia to Jenny the morning of the receipt of yours. I thought then to wait for 2 or 3 weeks. By that time there was so much sickness in my family and Freddie so dangerously ill that I thought I would not write until his fate was decided. He was nearly taken from us by the bilious, then by the typhoid fever, but he is now convalescing. Some 7 of the Negroes have been sick. Mrs. Sharp is here on a visit, and she and one of her children are sick. And Julie and I are both sick with chills and fever. If I had written to you earlier, it would have been whilst Fred's case was a doubtful one, and I did not want to distress you when it could have done no good to anyone. I have been thinking of paying you a visit this fall, but I now think it extremely doubtful whether I shall be able to. Not being able to even attend to my hands, much less work myself, I am getting behindhand so that I shall have to stay here and attend to my business. Cannot some of you come and pay us a visit? Jenny has not answered Julia's letter yet. Did she receive it? I was coming to the city the day it was written to hear a political speech, and it was too late to get it into the post office. So I gave it to a young man to put it in the next morning. It is for this reason I asked the question. Write to me soon. I hope you've had none of the sickness we have been troubled with. Your brother, Ulysses.
Dear sister, I have been wanting to write you for some time, and not so indifferent as you'd make out. Juliet and the children have returned from St. Louis. They will not make you the promised visit whilst I remain here. Captain Foley arrived today, and I showed him all the attention I could, but I regret to say it was not much. He will excuse it, however. I have learned through private sources that an attack has been made upon Fort Jackson, Louisiana, and the place has been taken. Whilst I am writing, several Gillingham gentlemen are in talking. They will remain until the office closes, so you must excuse a disconnected letter. At your request, I shall send a small batch from my cranium. I doubt whether it is big enough for the purpose you want it. If you will come out here, you might spend a few weeks pleasantly, and I will hope you will not lose such an opportunity as just occurred. I will close this. My love to all at home.
My dearest Julia, I have only one letter from you in 3 months, and that has been a long time on the way. I know there are letters for me in the post office somewhere, but when shall I get them? I sometimes get so anxious to see you and our little boys that I am almost tempted to resign and trust Providence and my own exertions for a living where I can have you and them with me. Whenever I get to thinking upon the subject, however, poverty begins to stare me in the face, and then I think, what would I do if you and our little ones should want for the necessaries of life? I would be contented at Humboldt if it was possible to have you here, but it is not. I have some land warrants, one of which I want to send you, but I'm afraid to trust it to the mail. I will send it by the first favorable opportunity. They are worth about $180 in New York. I do not know what you will be able to get in St. Louis. Yours truly, Ulysses.
Troops gather.
Men, rise.
Union,
Let's
line
rise.
up.
Men, our situation is dire. We're not find provisions soon.
Southern troops, get in your ranks, hold the staff fast and steady.
Longer. We simply must.
There's the food. God save the Union!
You're dead. Return to your seat.
Stop!
Now, I must surrender to General Grant. And I would rather die 1,000 deaths.
Hip hip! Hooray! General R.E. Lee. In accordance with the substance of my letter to you of the 8th, I propose to receive the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia on the following terms. The officers to give their individual paroles not to take up arms against the government of the United States until properly exchanged, and each company or regimental commander sign a bill parole for the men of their commands. The arms, artillery, and public property are to be parked, stacked, and turned over to the officer appointed by me to receive them. This will not embrace the sidearms of the officers, nor their private horses or baggage. This done, each officer will be allowed to return to their homes, not disturbed by United States authority, so long as they observe their parole and the laws in force where they may reside. Respectfully, U.S. Grant.
No.
'cause anybody will remember. It as much more they will remember what a war was before and after, and because it was and Grant was, you